Okay, we'll call April 30th special management meeting to order. We got the roll call.
Barron,
Yes.
Alt,
Here.
Bowers,
Here.
Johnson.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Paul second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public comments? Seeing none? On to you.
Should I come?
You can come up here as close as you can sit down.
All right. I just introduced myself to everybody. My name is Teresa Bernie. I'm the managing partner of Citrine Power. My company, Citrine Power, we're based out of Connecticut, but we have operations across the U.S. We develop solar and storage, but mostly solar power plants in the scale that we're discussing here. It's called small scale utility or large scale commercial solar projects, including community solar projects across the U.S. Predominantly our activities historically have been in the Northeast. That's where we're based. But Illinois is a new market for all solar developers, so we're here as well. We have 4 projects. These are our 5th and 6th projects that we're developing here in the state. Thank you for having me, and thanks for coming through so quickly. I just wanted to give a little bit of a background about the Illinois solar market and the power market and where things stand and where in relation to these projects. The Illinois solar power market, I guess, opened up slowly 2 years ago, and the rules have been in the making for a while. And the official rules were approved last year around this time, and since then we were all very excited. All of us developers, third-party power plant owners, came to the state. We've been negotiating with landlords and getting our permits, getting our interconnection agreements with the 2 utilities, the 2 large utilities, Ameren and ComEd. The rules largely required for us, in order to be a part of the incentive program that the state actually put together for solar, to have all of our non-ministerial permits, meaning all of our permits like planning or any kind of permit outside of final electrical and building permit. If we need to do wetlands, if we need to do any kind of planning board, et cetera, based on the local county or the local authorities' requirements. With all of us developers have been doing that, but along the way there's been so much demand that the Illinois Power Authority decided that they're not going to they don't have enough budget to award all the projects that are being developed right now, the incentives. And I guess maybe 3-4 months before the final, opening of the program, they decided to hold a lottery. Through and through, a random draw from the hat. Which was very unfortunate for us, but I guess they just couldn't figure out any other way to make it fair for all the demand that was out there in the absence of a budget. So we actually started working on these projects in January timeframe, which was 10-15 days before the lottery opened up. We couldn't have submitted to the lottery because we had to have our interconnection agreement at hand, which takes about 6 months or so to get from Ameren, and we had to have our permits at hand. So my other projects are in the wait list right now. Some of them are high in the wait list, some of them are low in the wait list, but we'll see how it's all going to work out. We're all waiting for the next phase of the community solar program, for the budget to be allocated, as well as for it to be continued. They awarded the incentive in declining blocks. The dollar amount of the incentive for each project declined by 4% on different blocks. So they're now on block 4 and the money is out. They can't really allocate any more, whether in ComEd territory or Ameren territory, or Ameren. And block 5 might open in the summer. It's unclear whether they're going to work through the wait list, because the wait list has about 700 projects right now that are waiting to be awarded. They more or less award 120 projects, because I think 80 in Ameren, more or less 80 in ComEd, and about 39 or so in Ameren territory. All in all, it's 120 out of almost 800, 900 projects. Everybody else is in the wait list. And again, it's unclear whether they're going to work through the wait list, or they're going to expand it so much that everyone gets awarded and more. This is strictly for community solar projects, which provide the most flexibility. And you're familiar with community solar projects? Would you like me to walk you through how they're all going to work out? Yes.
Walk us through it.
Okay. The beauty of the community solar project is, as the name implies, the whole community benefits from the solar power. We can build it anywhere, and there's community solar programs not only in Illinois, but in all sorts of other states. Not all of us in our households or in our businesses or in our properties can afford to put solar power plants on our roofs or in our backyards. A, they're very expensive, and B, especially in the Northeast, for example, a lot of us have older historical homes with pitched roofs. We just can't, it has to be facing south. It just doesn't work that way. But mostly it's cost prohibitive. Community solar takes all of that out of the equation. We can put the power plant, like what we planned, right up, in an open field, and in the same utility territory, as long as it's, your house is in Amaranth's territory or in ComEd's territory, wherever the power plant is going to be, we can actually allocate the power equivalent credits to your power bill, which then lowers your power bill. That's the beauty of it all. So you can just say, all right, my household takes about 5 kW annually, more or less. That's how much my consumption is. I want to buy probably about 3 of it, maybe 1% of this whole system. Can you please net meter the credits to me? They will get added onto your bill, and it will lower your electricity bill. That's the simplest way of explaining it. It's a financial benefit, and the way that we can make that happen is through this incentive program. Because ComEd and Amaranth underwrites the whole budget that Illinois Power Authority has, and then Illinois Power Authority gives us the incentives as developers. We develop these projects, these incentives make it economically feasible for us, so that we can actually pass on lower power prices to households or businesses or anyone who wants to buy that. It just opens up, clean energy, reduced electricity bills, etc., to the whole community, essentially. And that's why there's been so much demand for it, because you're not and then the second version of this, if you're not doing community solar, what would you be doing traditionally? Let's just say you're a manufacturing facility, you have a 100,000 square foot roof. You can put panels on your roof. It will be offsetting the electricity consumption on your own property. That's called behind the meter. We basically, during the time that the solar power plant is active, when the sun is shining, or even in this weather, it will be producing, not as much, but it will be producing, except for at night. During those hours, if you're active, instead of pulling from the grid, you pull from the solar system. And then it reverses back at night when the sun goes down. You keep pulling from Amaranth. So during those hours when you're pulling on your building from the solar power plant, you don't pay Amaranth. You just pay us as the developers. But again, we charge you less than what Amaranth would have charged you, because there's no transmission costs, distribution costs, or anything like that. Again, the power is at a discount to you, to whoever the building owner is. So the Illinois, stop me whenever you have questions. I know I'm kind of going through this. Obviously I do this as a living, so it's very intuitive for me, but it's not very intuitive. So please ask me any questions that you might have.
You mentioned ComEd and Amaranth.
Yeah.
What about the cooperatives that we have here?
Yes,
You do business with those, or?
Yeah, there was a huge debate about not including them. Initially, they were included in the initial regulations. ComEd petitioned against it, saying we don't want them, and because we're underwriting, we're paying for it as ComEd and Amaranth. Why would the municipal and co-ops be participating in this as a benefit? And then it was rejected. Then they re-petitioned again. I think right now it's still on hold. We don't know the results, as far as I know. But don't quote me on that, so I'm not 100% sure. But as far as developers, initially I actually was I had a couple of properties in Peru. They have the local cooperatives. We kind of shied away from it because there was so much uncertainty about what was going to happen. Overall, everything should be included is what we think, but we're beholden by the regulations that
Okay.
there's not much.
But
we
that's
can
still a
do.
possibility.
It's still a possibility, it's new, this is in its first year,
Yeah.
it's going to evolve and it's going to change. We're used to, for example, we've been doing this for about 8 years or so in Massachusetts. Initially municipal, electric authorities in Massachusetts were not included, then they got included and they benefited very much, now they're excluded again, so it's a little bit cyclical,
Right.
like, people change their mind all the time, depending on who's petitioning for what. But it's still a very distinct possibility, and we would like it for it to be that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So, coming to these projects, we want to move them forward. We just want to be very upfront, it's gonna take some time, because there's no dollars for us to do it the way that we all thought we were going to do. If they open up the program, the next big wave of the program again, and the dollars get allocated, which seems like the governor is very aggressive about path to 100, making 100% carbon-free the state. If they find some dollars and the utilities don't fight because it comes out of their pocket, then we're probably going to get something through. In the absence of that, there's another idea, and that's one of the reasons why I actually wanted to discuss this behind-the-meter concept with you. Community solar has been very popular, and that filled up very quickly. There's still a little bit of space left in the incentive program where we can expedite the projects towards selling the power directly. And I don't know, I'll tell you what needs to go into considering this, to this building, for example, or the nearest building that we can trench into, and we can go behind the meter of the building. Let's just say a 2 megawatt project is going to be producing about, on a single axis tracker, which they turn towards the sun, and they produce a lot more energy. 4 million kilowatt hours, I'm making it up, more or less. Does this building have that much consumption? I doubt it, but I don't really know what's housed in this building. Let's just assume you have a single meter. We can analyze your bills quickly, if you make them available, and look at your annual consumption and say, you know what, maybe we can offset a megawatt of it, and we'll make a 1 megawatt project initially, and then when community solar opens up, we can add another 1 megawatt project. Likewise, I was just asking the courthouse and the jail, they may have a lot of consumption, right? And we can sell some of the power to them or to offset their bills directly. They won't be community solar necessarily. It will be offsetting that building's power. But it's an option that you can actually move the project towards completion in the short run, because there is some incentive dollars that we can work with on that program. That's one way of going about it.
How close does a building have to be feasible for that?
This is very close. So the way that we laid out before, it's interesting, for a community solar project, that's why it's called in front of the meter, a community solar project has to interconnect to a 3-phase on the street. And we have to pump the power directly to the utility. That's why we laid out everything to the street front. But we can change everything towards the back of the property, right? We just have to come as close as possible. There will be some trenching costs associated with it to go to where the electric room is. And I haven't really looked, this is just a conceptual, I just wanted to run it by you to see if you're open to it, if you want to even consider it. It's just one way of going about it. We can definitely look into it. The closer the better.
I mean, if we'd have gone just a little bit further, there's a shopping area that has a Walmart and some other large retail stores.
Yeah.
Are they close enough that they could benefit from something like that? Or
How far would they be? I mean, this proximity is ideal the way that we looked into it. And the jailhouse is probably
Would you say a half mile or?
half a mile is too far.
Okay,
Yeah, it's at least a half a mile.
Half a mile is too far. Yeah.
just wondering.
And
There's
the
other
power
things
stuff-
in between here and there, a little
And
bit
plus-
closer, like car dealerships,
Trailer, probably,
yeah.
but they're at least a quarter mile, No,
It has to be this,
There's
these
nothing
are the
there.
closest.
Basically
ones.
adjoining. Okay.
yeah, there's nothing there.
On the same property, ideally, or adjoining.
Okay.
So if you want to do it, for example, I haven't really looked at, we can take a look together. Let's just say this property, I'm making this up, this, where we are, was 30 acres. This building, and then right here, there's another 10 acres. Yeah, we could take that easily, but this other one that we're talking about is almost that, right? We're right next to each other, we're adjacent to each other. And the courthouse is close enough, in my opinion, and there's gonna be a little bit of trenching, but I have to walk through and see how close we are. We might be able to do it with overhead still, but, for that, we have to analyze. So the way that we had proposed, it was just a lease, right? We didn't really bother you with any of your power bills, how much consumption do you have, in this building specifically, or anything like that. It's just a straight up lease. It's a lot it's easier for everyone to understand. I'm leasing my property. It could have been a farmer, it's a solar farmer,
Right.
that's it. And that still holds. It still is in effect. On our end, we just need a solution for selling our power to, right? That we need to sell our power to someone, plus we need our incentives to make the revenue. Each system costs millions of dollars. So before we make the investment, we need to know how we're gonna make our money back. On the community solar front, we're a little on hold right now, because without the incentives, it doesn't really work. We have a different pocket of incentives on this type of project that I talked about. That will require the buildings taking the power. So we just have to analyze how much power these buildings can take. If it's an exercise that you guys want to go through, it's just an option for you to have. And we obviously have to include the sheriff, I suspect, if he has any interest in taking any
That
power.
information might be readily available, because we just went through an energy audit to get
Oh, great.
everything
Awesome.
updated.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, if you can send it to us, we can easily tell you how big of a system we can build there initially. And that doesn't, the beauty of it is it doesn't preclude us from still going through the community solar process. We don't have to wait. So, because they will allow us to do a behind the meter project and a community solar project adjacent to each other. Whereas they will not allow to do more than two community solar projects adjacent to each other. So we can still go with the original plan. When everything opens up, it will be that we can use even more property now and more lease revenue, I guess, to the county. So just wanted to, bring you up to speed where things are. Unfortunately, there's no one else more than me to make this happen, because this is my business. I wanted to, I wanted to see it through. This week, I believe there's a lobby day tomorrow, even in Springfield, with all the mayors and elected officials. And today, there was a big lobby day in Springfield, with the governor, I think, to kind of push for the path to 100 and to open up more budget. We're pushing as an industry, and our lobbyists and our regulators, everyone's pushing for it. To be honest with you, ComEd and Ameren, they are trying to help us out in this whole process. I feel for them, because they really are trying to make the process easy for us, but they got bombarded with applications, of interconnection applications from, thousands of projects. Everyone wants to do these projects suddenly, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? And they did diligently. I have to give kudos to them, to give them credit. They diligently went through everything over the last year and a half. They gave us our interconnection agreements. They worked with us. They priced it. It's a lot of, work for them too. We pay for it, but still, it's a lot of work for them. And now we're at this point, they understand where we are. They want to help us, but again, they are also beholden by the regulations too.
When you do this, do you use your own crews?
We
Outside crews?
yeah, for construction, we use outside crews. We bid it out, and whoever is going to be the most proficient and cost effective together. Sometimes the cheapest is not the most proficient, as you know, like every contract. And we have a couple of trusted contractors that we know have done solar projects in the Midwest, and that's who we were pricing our projects with, the ones that are on the wait list right now, and we might use them. We don't use the same crews, for example, in Ameren territory and ComEd territory, because they're so separate and different. we contract it out. So my proposal is to maybe look into your power bills. We come up with a layout and a proposal for you to consider, and you can just say no, right? Let's just
Mhm.
keep waiting and go with the original plan. But at least while we're waiting for things to happen, it's an option for you to consider. Does that make any sense?
Will this have any effect on the current, the other deal that we got going, not with her, but with the, don't we have another company coming in? That's
right,
that's.
yes.
That's me?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay, alright,
Okay,
Yeah, they're the ones that did the bid on it and
Yeah.
everything.
okay.
This is just
Oh, okay, that's right.
something, this,
yeah,
this is just another thing that they can do.
yes, while we're waiting for the incentive program to open for community solar, this is another one that we can do. And another third bucket that we could try, if not in this round, maybe in 6 months, assuming the community solar budget doesn't open, which I think it's gonna open before then. There's another option, it's called Illinois Solar for All. I don't know if you've heard about this. The first round of it is going to open May 15th. It's geared towards actually environmental justice communities as well as low and medium income households. It really requires the solar power. It's basically power equality, more or less. They're giving us incentives to actually go to environmental justice communities that are environmentally in a disadvantage. Maybe they had a super fund, maybe they had some sort of an environmental disadvantage that was happening, a factory that kind of polluted the area. They're incentivizing us to go there, build a system there, and sell it to mostly low and medium income households. That's another, avenue that we can actually think about. Because we never even, I don't know, I don't think we're in an environmental justice community right now because it's more farming.
Does flooding count?
Yeah. Had a lot of flooding,
Have you?
Yeah.
devastating flooding.
Watch
Is that
it,
right?
yeah.
We can self-certify, so environmental justice community has some criteria, which I'll send it to you. I'm not sure, I don't know if flooding actually, I don't wanna mislead you.
We just got, Watsika just got a $5 million grant.
Is that right? For
To-
flooding?
Yeah, to take down houses and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
I would think that it would be well worth looking into, if nothing else. And
Yeah.
we are, the immediate area, I would say is pretty economically disadvantaged.
Okay, yeah, this is an opportunity
Yeah.
zone as well at the same time. I think it got qualified as an opportunity zone. They kind of go, the criteria is very similar with low and medium income and the opportunity zone areas. It's another one that we can actually look into. They are accepting very few applications, but, we can look at it for the next round, which is going to open subsequently after May. And do you have a housing authority in the county? No, okay. Doesn't really matter. We can work with another one or just in general here.
Yeah, you don't really per se have any housing
Don't
authority,
think so,
no.
Doesn't have to be. Just, it's sometimes easier to kind of go through them to process, the whole community, but it's fine. I would say let's just look into your production, consumption here, and then the jail and the courthouse. Let us give you another proposal. The lease will be the lease, like, there's no change from what we want. This is just an addition, as I said, in terms of, doing another project. It will be smaller most probably, because the courthouse and the jail will probably have a lot of consumption, but I'm not sure how much consumption you'd have in this building. It's a big building.
I think the jail would be surprising though, just it's 24/7, so
Yeah.
it'll probably be the one that really.
Yeah, and we can actually, propose a power purchase agreement to them saying, here's how we're going to lower your power bills, and here's a big system right adjacent. Do they have any, job creation programs in jailhouse at all, or no? We've done it before we've actually proposed it when we were opening up RFPs in other correction facilities where
You mean
we,
job creation?
we train inmates.
Oh.
Yep.
I don't know that there's anybody there that long.
Yeah.
They're mostly short term.
Short term, Okay,
unless they're on trial for murder.
So,
it's okay. So that's the update from my end, and
We do have a community college though. Is there,
we could do something at the community college too, again, how far?
KCC just went into, they're gonna do solar training as part of
Oh,
their
great.
curriculum.
That's awesome,
So if we would have any way that we could tie in with something like that,
absolutely.
that would be absolutely
Whatever we do
spectacular.
here, we can always, you know, whether the new option that we wanna pursue as an interim patch or the community solar, we'd love to have actually them involved. Especially for Illinois Solar for All, if we do the low income, they want us to create jobs and they want us to actually propose a plan about how we're going to train, how we're going to propose jobs, et
Awesome.
cetera. So we're happy to have that, and it just makes me very happy because it all stays in the community and, yeah.
And it's a
we
jump
absolutely
start
do
for
that.
us. It's a
Yeah.
jump start for this.
We'll have
this
our
area.
contractors, I mean, we'll come up with different curriculum, and even in the Northeast, we've actually done a lot of projects in New Jersey. New Jersey, is one of the oldest programs that's been around, and a lot of the schools, you know, municipalities, they've opened up RFPs, and we've won, and a lot of the times, these RFPs, require, you know, some sort of a curriculum in the schools, because we're on the roof of a school. So we create, we give a little monitor, and we can even put it in community college too. It just shows immediately, 24/7, the monitor shows how much it's producing. It's a great conversation piece for the students. They're all like, oh, it's working, like, because it constantly produces, it shows you how much, you know, how many trees we planted effectively, how many cars we got off the road, how much production we have. It's a cloudy day, it's not a cloudy day. And then we also have a little bit of a curriculum, not an ongoing one, but, you know, periodic, with, our contractors. It depends on what, you know, how the community college wants to go about it. Do they wanna look into the business side, of how these economically work? Do they wanna look into the technical side, which we can have our contractors come and teach?
See, I think they're tied in up there, but
Mhm.
the beauty of that is there's a satellite clinic right here.
Okay.
Not very far from us right
Sure.
now.
Yeah,
So I think that would complement what they've already got going on there, and they wouldn't have to recreate the wheel and bring it down here, it'd already be here.
yeah, great.
So,
Well, we'd love to meet them, and I mean, if you can maybe make the introduction, we can actually start the conversation. These are all, you know, long-term plans. Nothing prevents us from starting the
Sure.
conversation while we're waiting for things to happen.
So after the meter, is that correct?
Behind the meter,
Behind the meter?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that work as far as, okay, we decide to do it,
Mhm.
what is our cost or obligation or whatever?
Zero. There's no cost under any circumstance to you or the jailhouse building. These are supposed to be only benefits to you. Obligation-wise, there's gonna be a lease contract that we're gonna sign, long-term lease. Our option is going to turn into a lease, that's it, but that's for us to pay you. And then we would have to, for this building, let's just say it works, we would need to, sign a power purchase agreement. And the power purchase agreement is basically a fixed rate, 20-year power purchase agreement that I can send you a copy and you guys can take a look. It's something that we do all the time, saying that, yes, I'm gonna buy this power from this system at this rate for the next whatever years. And the rate is going to be negotiable. It has to be something beneficial to you. That's it. But your only obligation is to buy the power from us during the times that we're producing. That's it. You will never lose electricity. That's a question that comes up all the time. Oh, wait, when we're pulling power from you, what happens if the system doesn't work? If it's a rainy day, if it's a snowy day, right? Just doesn't matter. You're always on the grid. It's just we have we have a bidirectional meter. When we're pulling from the solar system, the meter takes it. And when we're not pulling from the system, the meter goes backwards when you're telling it. So this is checks and balances, and then the net price, the net amount actually gets paid by you. But you will never lose power. You're always with the grid.
How much usage do we have to make it viable for you?
It would be nice if we could build a 1 meg or maybe even a 500 kW system, a half a meg, that would be nice.
I mean, I don't know what our
Yeah,
power
exactly.
usage is, I just,
Exactly, so it would be hard, I don't think you're gonna have a lot of consumption here. But I'm more hopeful from the courthouse and the jail, as you said, it's 24/7, they might, it's a much, hefty building. How many meters do you have here, is it only 1 meter?
how many bills do we get? Each bill would be a different meter. I'd say there's probably 1 meter here.
I was thinking about it. I have no effect with that.
No.
One for each building.
That's just changing out.
That's,
One for each building?
Yes.
Okay,
good question.
what is it?
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't concern you.
Is the highway department close enough? That'd be
They're farther out.
still further out, yeah.
This is the only property you have?
We have 500 acres, well, 400 acres, what is it, 400? 400 acres.
Is there another property that might just be closer to more consumption at all?
No, it's further
Further
out.
out, yeah.
I mean, they're all kind of adjoining, but
Mhm.
it's moves further away from
Okay,
town.
alright. If there was something that was, for example, closer to the schools usually have a lot of consumption, like with the air conditioning and the heating and all the lighting.
The Wanda Kendall's, well, the high school. The Wanda Kendall's closer than the high school. Yeah,
How close?
It's,
4 blocks,
yeah, just probably about 4 blocks from the courthouse.
4 blocks from the courthouse.
As the crow flies.
Still farther away.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look at all of these. For us, it's easy for us to look into the, on the satellite. I just wanted to come here and explain it to you, just to go through the options and to tell you what's happening, in the incentive program and in the state, so that we can go through the options and see what happens. I will have a lot more information tomorrow, and I will, give all the feedback right away as soon as I have it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have answers, but maybe some light at the end of the tunnel, because all the regulators are going to be at the conference that we're gonna be at tomorrow. I don't think I have the answers either, but Yep,
What do you do when you decommission?
decommission, yeah,
What do you do with the panels? How does that work? Just,
very good question. We provide a decommissioning plan to you when we're pulling our permits, right, as part of the zoning bylaw. I've never, so far, we haven't decommissioned anything. So
Right.
a lot of it is a theoretical exercise, but the common accepted decommissioning plan calls for, there's a cost associated with it. And then we kind of have to make some estimates about, let's just say, is it 10 years down the road, 15 years, like whenever we need to decommission, whether we defaulted on our, project or it's the end of its life. There will be some scrap value to the equipment. There will be cables, there will be some racking, right, steel, there will be panels themselves. The panels are warranted for 20-25 years and degrade 0.5% every year, but they're still usable at the end of the 20th year if you really want to. So the cost minus the scrap value is a bond that we actually post to the landlord or the county, however you guys want to do it, you're one and the same. And it's a renewable bond that we actually post for every year it gets renewed. Unfortunately, there's no 20-year bond that any insurance company provides, but they've made peace with these solar decommissioning bonds where, you either put in an escrow, cash amount, or you put up a bond, that renews every year. And when you pull it, let's just say we don't show up to decommission things. We say it in our lease that we will, but let's just say I went bankrupt, we're poof, we're nowhere to be found, gone. You can pull on that decommissioning bond to decommission the system. That's the theory behind it.
well, I know that in the news, and it wasn't good news,
Okay,
when they showed decommissioning in California.
okay,
And they talked about the hazardous waste that was left behind because it wasn't decommissioned properly.
yeah.
We would want to ensure
Mm-hmm.
that we never got into that situation. We don't
Yeah.
need groundwater, we don't need, anything
No one wants
contaminated.
that, yeah.
Right, So do you guys put special provisions in there? I mean, is it, when you do that, is it detailed out exactly what
Yeah,
the
and
process would be?
well, there's two things. Decommissioning is as detailed as it could be. I can show you a copy of the decommissioning plan that I will give you when we come for, permits. That's easy for us. It's our standard decommissioning plan. But on our lease, which I should give you a copy of the lease too if I haven't, there's hazardous material representations, right? We're getting the property as is, and we're representing that we're not gonna put any hazardous materials, so you can probably go after us in law, if we were to do that, but I'm very surprised that there would be some hazardous materials coming out of a panel.
The
or-
radioactive, well, from what was happening in California, from what I gleaned, when they were taking the panels down, they were just throwing them on the ground and like stacking them. So then as the rain and the sun continues to come in on them, they're cracking and falling apart, and all of that's, feeding off into the ground that's around it. And it was awful. I mean, and it was a very in-depth, documentary that showed all this stuff. So thinking ahead to
Yeah,
future
no,
generations,
absolutely. Mhm.
we wanna make sure that doesn't happen here, and it sounds like, we're working together to make a plan that won't.
Yes,
Right.
I mean, this is a nightmare because we're trying to be clean energy here. We
Right.
don't want
Well,
to
and
do hazardous waste.
It's just like anything else. I
Right.
mean, when they used to put the tanks in the ground for
Right,
gasoline, you didn't know that there was ever a potential that anything bad could happen
Right.
from it. So you learn
yeah.
from your mistakes.
Yeah.
But if we're proactive in that, I just feel like,
We would love your feedback, honestly. This is, as I said, we've never decommissioned the system. All our systems are active right now. So I'll show you our plan, and I'm very open to getting your feedback or whatever clause that you guys wanna put into our decommissioning plan that's going to put your mind into ease. We're happy to put that in. Doesn't really bother me at all, if you're 5 steps ahead of us, we're happy to listen and
as long
learn.
as we work together.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna take
So
some
you
notes.
you have already got some in this state
I have, but they're in the wait list, they didn't win the lottery.
that are, that are up and producing?
No, not
Not
this.
yet, okay.
This is the first time we're actually doing anything, in Illinois. It's the, well,
Nobody's
in
got
the
any.
community
now.
solar
Nobody's
front,
got
in the
anything,
community
yeah,
solar front. There are some solar systems, large scale, very large scale solar systems that have been made, that's not what we do. We're playing in the, 1 to 5 megawatt range.
Okay.
That's our business plan, so I think there are a couple 10, 20 megawatt solar projects in the state, that's not us.
Okay.
Alright, so lease copy, I need to send you, decommissioning plan. For feedback. Then we said consumption we're gonna look at, right?
Mhm.
Consumption of this building,
Or satellite area.
PCC, right,
Mm-hmm.
for training. Building, plus the jail. If, let's just say we were coming here for the community solar, projects that are going through, what's the, permit process?
Zoning board.
Yeah. And we got the solar ordinance, and
Yeah.
you just follow that, go through the zoning board. And
That's it?
unless John can think of something else that might, I don't think there's gonna be. It's not Chicago, you don't have to come in with $2 million in bribe money or anything like that.
So luckily, we don't have anything like that, but yes.
We might need to share her.
Usually the initial
I have it.
process,
Oh, you do
We
have
have the ordinance, yes. We read it before we submitted
Okay.
our response to the RFP.
usually the initial process would be to appear before the zoning committee with an application, and then it goes to the zoning board of appeals, comes back to the zoning committee, and then the county board.
We just did that in,
But it all depends on following the solar ordinance.
yeah, we did it in, Spring Valley. Our project's in Spring Valley on the grounds of a Catholic academy. other questions, concerns, thoughts?
So how soon might we hear back from you with, like, a proposal or?
I need to get the consumption, both from, for the jailhouse and, this building, and then we can actually, probably in a few weeks.
Okay.
We'll get you something, and then we'll go from
And
there.
that's where the consumption is going to be an estimated consumption,
Yeah.
because what we're consuming right now is gonna change.
It's gonna
after-
go down after
yes.
your audit is
Well, after,
implemented.
I mean, all the lights are getting
Yeah.
changed and everything else, so.
Did they give you how much they're going to reduce their consumption?
I'm sure it's in the booklet someplace.
So if we can actually look into that and talk to them too and say, okay, let's just say you're consuming 1 million kilowatt hours now. And if they're suggesting 20% reduction, then we'll just size it to 800-ish, right? We'll go around about that. It's good, it's always good to know what you're gonna do. And when are you implementing all of that?
Bids have been let, so they're it's in the process
Yeah.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a new chiller for the courthouse, it's been ordered. As far as I know, the electrical contractor is all lined up for here, it's just a matter of them getting the materials and doing the work.
Okay. We're excited. We're generally excited about Illinois. We think the state, Illinois Power Authority, they're doing their best. It's been very, it's not ideal for us. It's easy for us to complain, but they have an enormous job to do. So many applications, brand new. They have to make so many people happy. They have to make the public happy. They have to make developers happy. They have to make the utilities happy. Everyone's like barking at them, saying, no, I want this, I want that. So they've actually done as best as they could, and I do have a lot of faith that they're going to have the next iteration of it. It's just a matter of when and when we're gonna get the budget. Yeah. Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you for your
very
time.
much.
Yes, very nice
Appreciate it.
to meet all of you. So Amanda, are you Amanda? Hi,
Yes.
nice to meet
Hi.
you. I was suspecting that you might be. So I communicate via Amanda. Is that how we should be communicating, or?
That's probably as good as any, because she can send everything out to the rest of us.
All right, great. So I'll expect to get the utility consumption, or if you have it in a spreadsheet, that's even better. But if you have it by bills, that's also fine. We can take a look at it.
I will, once we adjourn, I'll call and see if they can send something.
Okay. Okay, great. Excellent.
Any other questions? for
You know where to find me. If you have any questions, please feel free to call, email. If we don't know the answers, we'll get the answers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Of
very
course,
much.
anytime. Have a good evening or afternoon.
So it's Connecticut, are you from?
I'm from Western Connecticut, Fairfield County. Southern Connecticut.
Okay.
You know Connecticut well? Are you-
My son just moved from Durham,
Okay,
North Carolina,
yeah, to where?
to Michigan,
Oh,
Ann Arbor.
okay. Great.
It wasn't too far difference, I don't think.
It's like an hour flight, yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else on that, is there any old business? Any new business? And this is a supplemental meeting, we'll have our regular meeting Monday. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All opposed? We are adjourned.